anytime, any day. Why not right now? Stop looking up to your boss and start being your own boss. Don't work for paychecks. Work for dreams with no regrets. This is Cracking the Entrepreneur Code. If you have the passion, we'll create the blueprint. Now, your host. You know him from his 7 tips to build the business you always wanted, and now you're about to hear a lot more. Jack H.M. Wong.
Welcome to another episode of Cracking the Entrepreneur Code. And I'm your host, Jack Wong. Now, in this episode, I'm bringing another high-impact, high-energy entrepreneur because he said he's able to inspire us. So let's see how well he's doing. His name is Dr. D. Anthony Miles. He is an entrepreneur, award-winning researcher, award-winning professor, statistician, legal expert witness, business expert, and best-selling author. He has a lot of things going on, and I would like D, we'll just call him D, to let us know a bit of himself, why you are doing what you're doing, a bit of your background before we drill down into today's topic, that is entrepreneurial risk. Okay, so D, over to you. Tell us a bit more about yourself, your background.
Sure. I don't know how I could follow up a great introduction like that, Jack.
You're welcome.
Award-winning professor, award-winning researcher, statistician, legal expert witness. An entrepreneur, all of those things I do are entrepreneurial in nature. For the legal expert witness side, I'm asked to testify in court cases as an expert witness, and I've been an expert witness consultant. I've been asked to testify in cases such as a advertising fraud case or a trade dress case. I've been asked to testify on that. I've been asked to testify as a statistician about how to track sales. I'm CEO and founder of my consulting practice and venture acquisition company, Miles Development Industries Corporation, okay, based here in San Antonio, Texas. I also have dabbled in different things. I've done some government contracting. Working on a big contract right now as a statistician. I get a lot of contracts as a statistician. Been in the media. I was interviewed in Forbes. I was interviewed in Huffington Post. I've been interviewed in the San Antonio Business Journal. I've been on numerous media, numerous print media, numerous social media and podcasts. And when I talk, I bring a lot of my experience. Also, I'm the author, a best-selling author of the book Risk Factors and Business Models, which is based on entrepreneurial risk. And also, I'll have a new book coming out called How to Get Away with Murder in Marketing for 2018. Right.
Yep. That's very, very interesting bio because you have a lot of things. That's why I said the best thing to do is really ask D to explain and to describe rather than me regurgitating from the bios given to me. And that sounds more interesting. I thank you for the energy, and I said I need to keep up with my energy. You know what? My time right now is already after 10 p.m., and I said to myself, well, I can do it. So let me ask you, D, this question. Like, of all things you are doing, why do you focus on this concept called entrepreneurial risk? Absolutely.
Entrepreneurial risk is basically the things that cause that are risky toward the business that can cause the business to either fail or not or lose profitability. And I actually creeped up on the name. I'm not the father of the name. When I was doing my doctoral research, I was fascinated that a lot of the studies, especially in economics and business and entrepreneurship research, they never talked about entrepreneurial risk. What are some of the risky things that happens when you start a business? And when I conducted my research, I did research on 500 plus small businesses in my particular area in the United States. And I looked at certain patterns and I want to see if there are any things that stood out to me. And I basically came up with 5 categories of risk that I've seen with business ventures based on my research of 500 plus small businesses.
Right. So what are these 5 categories of entrepreneurial risk that you have researched on?
Sure. When I was conducting the research, I discovered 5 patterns of entrepreneurial risk. First one is called personal characteristics, which is the personal characteristics of the entrepreneur. And then second one is called intangible operations. That means the things that affect the business outside of the business. Okay. Then you have something called operations risk, enterprise risk.
Okay,
I had a
enterprise.
different name for it originally. Yeah, enterprise risk are the things that affect the business inside the business. Okay. The next one is called market climate. How the business functions in the market. And the last one is called business environment, the environmental things that affect the business and the vitality of the business. So those are the 5 risks that I had to, when I was looking all over the place, those are 5 categories of risks that make up entrepreneurial risk.
Right. So if I were to ask, let's start with the very first one, the personal character. That's all I remember. Why is that a risk that is important to be aware of?
Yes. When I was originally conducting my research, a lot of previous literature on entrepreneurial research tend to over-focus on the entrepreneur, meaning your age, your gender, those type of things, your industry experience. If the business is if you're entrepreneurial as entrepreneur or not, there's some prior research that says some people think like employees and some people think like entrepreneurs. So when I developed this category of risk based on my research, I looked at those personal characteristics. One that stood out of more than anything is industry experience. And what that means is you can't start a business. I mean, you can. I'm not going to say you can't do it. But you can't start a business outside of your circle of competence and be successful unless you put people around you. So if you're a plumber, and you want to be a jet fighter pilot, and you want to start a business, making jet pilot airplanes or whatever, that's going to be a risk to you because you don't have experience in that industry. And most entrepreneurs, and I hate to say this, Jack, some of them tend to start businesses outside of their circle of competence, and you wonder why they crash and burn. Okay? So you kind of have to stay in your lane. And what that means is maximize what you know and marketize what you know and try to stay within your circle of competence. Case in point, if you work for a bakery, right, and you want to start your own donut shop, that's not a far stretch, is it? Nope. Because one, you worked in the industry, so you kind of know certain things. But however, you may be on a better learning curve than somebody who has no experience in the pastry industry or those type of things. So that's what you have to consider. What is the circle of competence of the entrepreneur, and how much experience do they have in the field and the industry?
So if someone comes to you, D, and asks you for help, would you are basically do a diagnostic study or review of the person based on his background, maybe his education, maybe his corporate experience, to decide what are the strengths and weaknesses of that person. Is that something that I'm guessing correctly?
Yes, a lot of times, I kind of backed away from it because originally when I was doing my consulting practice, I was getting people that would just want to start a business and they don't know what they want to start a business in, so they're trying to ask me to help them start a business. And I was like, well, that's kind of put me on the spot. I mean, yeah, I could tell you how to start a business or whatever. But most of the people, some people, and as you've seen this, Jack, they just want to start a business because they're tired of their job. They watch an infomercial on TV and they want to start a business. They want to go into real estate. I don't know if I'm a little bit older than you. I remember in the 80s, they used to show all of those real estate infomercials at night, and everybody thought they can get into real estate. Right. And a lot of people crashed and burned. They were buying all these tapes by all these guys saying you can make money overnight in real estate. Well, the thing about entrepreneurship brings truth. And what that is called social Darwinism, the survival of the fittest. And only so many people are going to be successful, and the majority of the people are going to fail. So those are some of the things that when I would get people telling me they want to start a business, and I would do a diagnostic check, or I would do a evaluation based on a lot of my research, and I was also asking them, okay, what is your background in the industry? What is your management experience? Have you ever started a business before? Have you ever managed a group of people? And entrepreneurship is really hard, and a lot of people, I know we have success stories, but for every success story that you have, there are millions or thousands of people that fail because they missed something or it was something that they didn't quite do right.
That's right. I agree. Absolutely.
So yeah, absolutely.
Yep. So for my situation, I tackle the question from a very different angle because from your background, it is as good as a person coming to you, D. I am very sick and tired of my existing situation in terms of the job. I lost my time. I don't have the freedom that I want to pursue my dreams. So I just want to get out of the rat race. As I told you, this is one of the groups that I'm serving. And they said to me, hey, D, what business should I be in? And you'll be asking questions to do a diagnostic check. And they eventually tells you two things. One, I just want to get out. I just want to get out of the job. I do not want to be in the job anymore. But two, actually, I don't know what I want to do. You ask me what kind of skills I have? Well, I am not so sure. I've been doing something for my company for many years. Maybe I'll be in managerial position. I'm managing a group of people. My job function may be doing primarily sales. So this would be the best thing I can say. Well, I manage a team. I do sales. So in such cases, would that be sufficient for you to make some conclusion or draw some inferences about the risk factor?
Yes. I would definitely take a look at that person's background, and then everybody gets to a point when they have a job where they feel like, they lie to us. We go to college. They tell us to get a college degree, and you go get a job and retire, and that's life. And there's so many opportunities now to be an entrepreneur than there were before. Right. And one of the things is if somebody wants to start a business, and I don't know if I said this to you, Jack, most people, and I don't know if it's changed too much recently, most people want to start a business between 45 and 55 years of age after they've had experience in the rat race. Right. Because most of the people that start a business around that age have a more likelihood chance of being successful than they were if they were younger. Why? Because they're more seasoned. Right. They've learned a lot of things about business, so they have a higher likelihood of being successful and a lesser chance of being a failure. I would say there's less risk. But if I met a guy like that, yes, he would be the perfect candidate to develop a business and a viable business model. A guy like that could either go get into a franchise. He can get into a franchise. He could also go into real estate because real estate is sales driven. So what I would direct him to, if he has a background in sales, like you were saying, he needs to be in a business that he can generate sales and maximize things of his personality. Right. So, but then all of us are salesmen if we have a business. Like case in point, I'm working on a contract with I got brought in as a subcontractor to be a statistician, okay? And my company, I'm supposed to get roughly 75 to 100K for some work, okay? That's one contract. So when you're an entrepreneur, you always want to have multiple streams of income. Take your skill set and you want to divide it up. Say you have 3 or 4 skill sets. Think of it as a 4-quadrant model. And you go, okay, I'm going to make money here, I'm going to make money here, and I'm going to make money here, and I'm going to make money here. So when you take your skill set and split it up like that, and you say, okay, I can make money 4 ways to Sunday because I have different skill sets that I can marketize my knowledge and I can monetize my knowledge. That's the way you have to think as an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur never depends on one revenue stream. You always want to have 3 or 4.
Sounds like I'm in the right fit and in the right category because, well, I'm not 45 to 55 category, but I left the corporate world when I was 42. And interestingly, I started my first business based on a skill set that I have for 2 decades, that is tax consulting. So it seems that I'm on the right track, and I do have a few more income streams. I'm not just doing tax consulting nowadays. You can see that I'm doing broadcasting. This is like totally different from tax consulting. I'm a bit happier now. Well, after hearing from what you have said, that's very good.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And I forgot to mention this, Jack. Yes. You want to look at your business as an ecosystem. Yes. And what that means is you want your businesses to feed off of each other. Okay, say like you do tax consulting, right? Yep. Well, you have another revenue stream that you probably didn't realize is speaking. when somebody brings you in as a speaker and they have to pay you a fee to speak.
Yes.
And I heard somebody make this quote: always get paid for what you're good at. Never do anything for free that you're good at.
Oh my goodness. We just have one very interesting discussion in one of the Facebook group consisting of a lot of coaches. And one person said, I decided to leave one coaching family for the only reason I don't understand why these coaches are doing the work totally for free. And I said, oh my God. We have so many people who love to give away their time for free. I don't understand.
Absolutely.
I'm in sales. I would say, you want my time, you got to pay for it. That is only be fair.
Well, you have to use your business as a toll bridge business, as Warren Buffett says.
Yep.
When people want something, they got to pay the toll.
Yep.
And when you keep that mindset, that keeps you, when you make money and you're making money and all of your money is feeding and circulating through your business, that opens up more opportunities for you that you didn't know were there. Now, you're saying you're a tax consultant, right?
Yep.
So people bring you in. They want you to speak about some of the issues that you've seen over the last 10 years, and they pay you $15,000 for a 2-hour speaking engagement. I've seen that. But that feeds all into your ecosystem, your consulting. And my uncle used to tell me this. My uncle my very dear uncle that passed away, he used to always say, you got to have a holy trinity. And he'd say, your business, your consulting, and your practice. Okay?
That's right.
And that could be speaking. That could be television interviews. That could be your books. All of those three things feed into each other, and you have an ecosystem within your book and within your circle of competence. So if you could take your circle of competence and monetize it, and anytime somebody wants you to do something that you're good at, you charge them.
Yep.
They got to pay the toll.
Right.
Okay?
Yep.
Absolutely.
Just share with you, D, I've been doing tax speaking for more than 10 years. Actually, to be frank, it's 20 years. So I'm not new to the industry. I'm also an author of a particular taxation book in Singapore. I'm one of the few authors or tax practitioners in Singapore with my own book. So, yeah, I hit
That's awesome.
Yep,
that is totally awesome.
But honestly, this is what exactly you have described, because if we don't have this entrepreneurial mindset, we are just carrying ourselves as an employee. I obviously would not have thought about all these things as an entrepreneur. So purely it's really, that's why I want to really drill down into the very first risk factor, because I always believe that if we get a right start at the right time, we can scale the business. But if we start wrongly, it will be a failure. To me, that is my definition of an entrepreneur.
Oh, absolutely. And also I'll say this, like case in point, let me show you the difference between a regular person. Let's say an employee and an entrepreneur, okay?
Sure. Yep.
Employee, say we have an accident on the expressway, right? And all the cars are sitting up in traffic. The employee thinking person says, oh, I'm going to be late to work. I'm worried. What does the entrepreneur say when he sees an accident? How can I go past my business cards out to these people that are waiting over here for the traffic to clear? How do I get my name out there so I can pick up clients? The entrepreneur takes a problem and make it into an opportunity. That's the difference between an employee thinking and entrepreneurial thinking. Entrepreneurs always try to take a situation that's bad and create an opportunity. Not being an opportunist, but trying to take something that's a problem and create an opportunity for themselves. If you see a lady on the side of the road, she needs help with her tire, and you go change the lady's tire, you slip her your business card and say, hey, ma'am, this is who I am. If you ever need somebody, a tax accountant like yourself, please give me a call. You do not realize how many clients you can pick up just by meeting people in social situations.
That's right.
Always take a problem and create an opportunity for yourself and your business.
Yep. Thank you for this insight. I appreciate that. I want to move on a little bit of the other risk factors. Like in one of the factors, I believe that it's about, like you mentioned when you share with me some of your studies, research. There's a concept called market saturation. Can you tell us a bit more about what's market saturation? What is that?
Oh, absolutely. That's one of my favorite ones.
Okay.
That's a great question.
Sure.
Market saturation will come up under the market climate risk. And when you consider starting your business, you have to consider the market. You have to consider the climate. So the market climate has about 4 components that you need to be worried about in terms of market saturation. You have to worry about competition. You have to worry about market entry and exit. You also have to worry about competition intensity. And what that translates into market saturation. Like case in point, if you have 30 competitors in the marketplace, one of them is going to be the leader and everybody else is going to be the follower. So if you're trying to penetrate that market, you're going to have a hell of a time penetrating that market because the market is so saturated with all those competitors. So you think of it like a pond, Jack.
Yep.
Think about, why don't you go fish in another pond where all of those fishermen are not fishing? You have a higher chance of success if you fish in a pond with less fishermen than you would if you got 30 fishermen fishing in the same pond because you're all fighting over the same dollar. And remember what I talked about earlier about social Darwinism, Jack? This is a classic example of social Darwinism. Social Darwinism means the survival of the fittest in the business world. So many are going to be successful and the rest are going to fail. That is like God's plan in the Bible. That's what market saturation is. That means there's so many competitors in the marketplace. If the market has too many competitors in the marketplace, you have a higher chance of failure than you would if you were in a less saturated market with less competitors. It's just, I know it sounds like common sense, but a lot of us, when we start a business, we never consider market saturation as a consideration. And then that leads to the allegory of Mr. Market. And if you want to talk about that later, we can.
Okay, sure. Why don't we just talk about the Mr. Market then? Because this is kind of like related, right? So shall we just dive into Mr. Market?
Yeah, sure.
Yep.
Mr. Market is an allegory that came from Warren Buffett's mentor, Philip Graham. When Mr. Market, he used it in the context of finance. And the way he used it, you're a accounting guy, I'm sure you know who Warren Buffett is, okay?
Yes, of course.
Warren Buffett's mentor, Philip Graham, said, you have to check with Mr. Market. And basically the allegory is Mr. Market is an allegory for the market. Okay? And Mr. Market, the way he had the context in which he used it in the finance field was Mr. Market is going to come to you every day asking if you want to buy this product or this stock. I believe it goes something like that. And Mr. Market is going to, Mr. Market will lie to you. He'll tell you anything. And you have to be, so you have to treat the marketplace as the allegory of Mr. Market. Is Mr. Market telling me that there's an opportunity here to purchase this stock or whatever? So what I did was I took the allegory of Mr. Market and I applied it to entrepreneurship. I said, okay, what does the marketplace tell you, which is what Mr. Market is, the allegory of the marketplace? And Mr. Market says, your product is not ready. Your product is ahead of its time. There's no product like this on the market. So you can either listen to Mr. Market or you can ignore Mr. Market. Mr. Market says there's too many competitors in that industry. And you say, well, I don't believe that. I think my product is the best in the marketplace. Well, Mr. Market gave you his warning and you didn't listen and you crashed and burned.
Yep.
So you have to let the market speak to you, and that's what Mr. Market does. Mr. Market is the market, and you have to let Mr. Market speak to you about the marketplace.
Yep, it is a very interesting way of explaining, because what I'm hearing from a different perspective is that, you know, as an entrepreneur, you are here to provide your solutions to solve other people's problems. I mean, this is a very standard statement of entrepreneurship.
Absolutely.
But some entrepreneurs think that they know the market so well that they can address the wants and needs of the customers. But many times they actually make the assumptions without checking or without doing surveying. So that's why there is a gap. In the end, they launch a product. I heard from one of the early episodes, one of the guests that shared with me that this lady actually spent tens of thousands of dollars to invent and to trademark a product, thinking that it would be a big launch, should be very successful, make a lot of money. And that at that time, when she is about to launch a product, nobody bought it. And she lost every single cent because of the failure of the launch, just because she made the assumption, she had care of what Mr. Market has told her. She did not either listen to Mr. Market or she didn't check with Mr. Market. Yeah. And thing about entrepreneurship, Jack, and those things like that, entrepreneurship is the truth. Yep. And I think one of the things I sent you my before we got set up our interview, this is one of the quotes that I'm actually famous for. All businesses are guilty until proven innocent. Yep.
Okay?
You have mentioned that.
What does that mean? That means that you're guilty until you prove your product is viable in the marketplace. So you're guilty until you're proven innocent. And if you're not innocent, that means your product fell, so you're already guilty. So it's a totally different mindset, considering the judicial system and the legal side. All businesses are guilty until proven innocent. And the marketplace is the jury. Okay?
Yes. To me, it's like, what a fantastic way of explaining the business, the entrepreneurship, using the legal system. When I saw the quote, I said, how does it apply? So yes, thank you for letting me know, or this is the way this sentence is interpreted from entrepreneurship sense. Thank you for that.
You need to put that you need to frame that. And anytime somebody comes to you and wants you to help them with a startup, you go, okay, you got to know this. All businesses guilty until proven innocent. Until you prove to me that this business is profitable and can make money, it's not a business. Right. A lot of entrepreneurs fool themselves into believing that just because you like to do something and it's a hobby doesn't mean it translates into being a business venture. And then we have people that have flawed business models. Your business model didn't work in the aspect, and that's the other issue when we talk about some of the other risks. Did you have a viable business model? Okay? If you think about the newspapers before we had the internet, right? You had to buy the paper. You had to buy a hard printed newspaper. So then when the internet came out, or not came out, but when the internet became more prevalent, newspapers did not change their business model, and some of them have failed. They did not consider taking their content and putting it online and then charging a subscription fee like you do when you order the paper and you pay a subscription fee for having the paper delivered.
Yep.
And you have to treat it like this. Remember when we talked about toll bridge type of business? If you don't pay the toll, you don't get the newspaper. If you don't pay the toll, you don't get to read the rest of the article. Okay?
That's right.
So you have to treat your business like a toll bridge business. If people don't pay, would you ever heard that saying in America? No tiki, no laundry? There you go.
That's true. That's true. And therefore, the entrepreneurs to you is, I believe that it requires a lot of researches, a lot of study, self-discovery process, knowing what the market is. There's so many factors to make an entrepreneur to be successful. So if I were to ask you, Dee, if somebody who really want to start a business, by listening to this episode, I believe, put myself into their shoes, I would say, Dee, oh my God, there's so many things I need to worry. Can you just quickly summarize, what are the first few steps I have to take in order at least to survive in the first few years of my business?
Yes. Okay. What I would say to somebody that was starting from zero, if they were interested in starting a business, the first thing that you want to do, obviously you want to do research.
Yep.
You want to look for gaps in the marketplace. Look for gaps. Gaps are they're like God's hint to tell you maybe you should start a business where all the businesses have missed a gap. And sometimes it's apparent, sometimes it's not. But you always want to look for gaps in the marketplace. Like case in point, I'm just being hypothetical.
Sure.
Say you want to start a landscaping business, okay? And you see a new subdivision that's being built, okay? Well, most people have yards in America. They have yards that need to be cut. Most people don't want to cut the yard. They rather hire a yard man. So you see a new subdivision being built. You see a gap in the marketplace.
Yep.
Why? Because those new homes that are being built don't have yards yet. So you can either go over there, give them your business card, meet the new homeowners, and tell them, listen, I can be your yard man. I will take care of your yard. I charge a real low fee. I will keep your yard cut. Also in the winter, I do tree trimming. So what did you do? You found a gap in the marketplace because you knew what? People are going to need their yard cuts. Nobody's doing it right now. So you found a gap and you made sure that you were on first base. Now they talk about an entrepreneurship being the first base company. That's the first one to get to the customer. So you got on first base before everybody else did. Okay? So by the time the next guy comes and tries to give them the business card, you done picked up 15 or 20 new clients and you took care of their yard. Okay? That's the way you have to think. You have to look at opportunities, and they say that, the third eye? The third eye of entrepreneurship. You have the ability to see something before everybody else does.
True. Absolutely.
That's what I would tell somebody. Look, open your third eye up. Look for opportunities. Look for problems. If then business is built like this in entrepreneurship, okay?
Yeah.
What problem are you solving for the customer?
True.
If you're not solving a problem for the customer, you don't have a business.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way you have to think. What problem am I solving for the customer? If you want to be a record producer, is that really a problem? You want to produce records? You want to be in the music business? Well, how's that a problem? Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So if you think along those lines, you will always stay away from commodity-based businesses as well. Some of the things I didn't get to talk about earlier. Stay away from commodity-based businesses with a common product that the products don't stand out from one another. They're basically commoditized businesses, and when you have a commodity-type business, the business has to compete on price.
Yep.
And if you have to lower your pricing to stay competitive, you will not make money. So if you keep that in mind, open up your third eye, ask yourself, what problem am I solving for the customer? And if you say, do I have a commodity-based business or do I have a competitive-based business? There's a difference.
I see. Well, it honestly took me a few years in my tax consulting business just to share with you my experience to differentiate myself from many other types of tax consulting firm or CPA firm, and at the same time to think of like how do I take myself out of the I call it the sea of sameness, which is what you mentioned earlier. How do I stand out and go to the other pond, differentiate myself from other tax firms? Is not an easy task. Like it took me a few years just to establish that identity. Oh my God! To me, it's like it is work, and I appreciate what you have said. Like I have to figure it out, and like luckily I figure it out. But without coaching, without mentorship, without guidance from experienced people like you, I bet the person might be spending a very, very long time. I mean, long time as in like decades, just to figure it out. By then, he's up to retirement age already. So what business are we talking about? Awesome. Yep. So I really appreciate your insight, and the fact is that you mentioned the importance of whether I'm in a commodity-based business, because we all know that commodity is driven by the price, and you and I know that we don't like to really ask or charge a lower price by saying to the clients that we are better than the other, but the client doesn't see that, and therefore they only pay us the price that they think, and because of this price war. That's why in Singapore context, I've got people who are CPAs blaming, bitching, complaining about the industry because the client said, well, your fee is getting very expensive. If you don't lower your fee now, I'm going to another firm. And this so-called the business owners, the CPAs as a business owners, what they can do is, because they do not know this set of risks that you mentioned, they just complain and say the market is not helping them. The industry is not helping them. The professional body is not helping us. So oh my God, then who can help me? It's like blaming the whole world, blaming everybody except for themselves. So I was like, gee man, what if they have studied and learned what we know from entrepreneurship people? Would they have a different mindset or thinking, and they at least would not bitch or complain about the industry? They should look at themselves.
And also, when you have a commodity-based business, and you brought up an excellent point, Jack. When you have a commodity-based business, that means you have to be more price competitive.
Yep.
And you may have to take a client. You might have to lower your fee to take a client because that client knows there's 20 other people doing what you do, so that drives the cost down. Okay,
Yep.
They don't have to pay. You say, okay, well, you're charging this. I can get the same from such and such, and he's basically the same business, so I'm not going to pay your fee. And people pay for what they appreciate. Would you agree with me on that, Jack?
Yep, absolutely, I agree.
Think of it. If you look at the legal industry, we have a lot of attorneys in America, right? Okay,
yep. Mm-hmm.
So attorneys. Only the good attorneys, the exceptional attorneys, they get results, can charge a premium price to the client.
Yep.
However, if you're just like the rest of the attorneys in your particular area of practice, and you're trying to get a premium fee from a client. That client can call up 15 or 20 other attorneys that do something similar. They could price cut you, they could undercut you. So it's a dog eat dog world. But if you have a commodity based business, that's basically what you have to go through.
Yep.
Anytime that your product is common and doesn't stand out, you have to primarily compete on price, and it's a merciless environment, and it's just a woodshed of murder when you have to deal with people who can price shop. And customers are smarter now, or consumers are a lot smarter. They have smartphones. They can price you. Okay? So that's the thing that you have to consider. What problem am I solving? And if I have a commodity-based business, and if I don't have a commodity-based business, I'm raising my fee. And then the other issue with that, Jack, is when your expenses have risen because of inflation and you try to raise your fee, that customer might jump ship because he's saying he believes your fee is supposed to be the same after 4 or 5 years, but you have to raise your fees because of what? Inflation. Okay, so as soon as you start raising fees, you start losing customers. That's the other crime when you have a commodity-based business. People pay for things they appreciate.
Yep,
that's the way
right.
it is.
Absolutely. So it seems that we have got a lot to learn from experts like you. So my question is, because we were hitting the 40-minute mark, and you know what? We have already exceeded 30 minutes without knowing or aware of that.
Don't even seem like it.
Yeah, so really, we want to find out more about you. Like, where can we find out more about your work, yourself, and where can we find your books?
Sure, my book's on Amazon.com, and I'm sorry, Jack, I meant to send you a copy. I'll send you the ebook. If you give me your email, I'll email you the ebook. If that's okay
thank you
with
very much. Thank you very much.
Sure, I apologize for that. I usually send my guests when I'm on the show. I usually send them a copy of my book. But I'm on Amazon.com. I'm on ResearchGate. I'm on LinkedIn. ResearchGate. If you go to my name, type in ResearchGate. I have workshops that I've conducted around the country on marketing, entrepreneurship. I'm thinking about putting up a workshop that we did on how to do a business plan. I also put I'm sure you're familiar with Robert Kiyosaki's work. We did a workshop on the cash flow quadrant.
Yep.
There are 4 types of entrepreneurs. I have a workshop on that. If anybody doesn't know what the cash flow quadrant is, if you go to my name and type in cash flow quadrant, we did a workshop in Atlanta, Georgia, if I'm not mistaken. No, we did in New Orleans, on what's the basic theory of the cash flow quadrant, the 4 types of entrepreneurs, and this really coincides with my book. What are the 4 types of entrepreneurs? The E, the S, the B, and the I. Okay.
Yep.
And I'm on LinkedIn. I'm all over the internet. So you can go to my website, www.mdicorpventures.com, and that's what my consulting practice is. And I'm definitely would provide any help to anybody that needs my help, for a fee, of course.
Of course. That is not something that we ask for free. No way. If I were you, I would say, well, pay. If you need my time, just pay for it. Perfectly understood. And
yeah, I have a toll bridge business.
Well, you walk your talk, you demonstrate by your action, so I appreciate that. Okay, so really thank you. You see that haven't I proven to the listeners that this interview is not a boring one. It's like after 40 minutes, the energy is still very high for Dee and for myself. And you know that's the reason why I love to talk to guests. Even at my hours, it's 10:40 p.m. right now, Singapore time. Is I told the other guests the other day around the same time. I say after the interview, to lo and behold, I would not sleep. I would not be able to sleep. And in that episode, after the interview, I told the guests that I was able to fall asleep at 3 a.m. in the morning.
I believe it. Entrepreneurship is addictive right now, and we have people that are not taking jobs anymore. You can make so much more money now, and if you want to be the next millionaire, always develop multiple streams of income. Yep. If you keep that in mind, don't fish in one pond, fish in 4 or 5 ponds. You'll always be prosperous.
That's right. Totally agree. So once again, thank you, Dee, for sharing your insight and experience.
Thank you,
I hope
Jack.
that the
really
listeners benefit from your sharing. So this concludes this episode of the Cracking the Entrepreneur Code podcast interview show. And thank you, D, once again. So you know what?
Thank you so much for having me, Jack.
Yes,
Appreciate
thank
it.
you. So you know what, listeners, okay, as usual, I'm going to bring out another successful entrepreneur to all of you who is going to share with you the insight, experiences, and the wisdom to help you take your business to the next level. Until we next meet, my friends, listeners, Jack Wong here. I will see you next time. Goodbye.
To continue cracking the entrepreneur code, subscribe for more episodes and download the Amazon bestseller, Cracking the Entrepreneur Code, 7 Tips to Build the Business You Always Wanted at crackingentrepreneurcode.com. Learn more about author and host Jack H.M. Wong and book your 30-minute discovery session to overcome any professional challenge at jackhmwong.com/apply.